Today's word from the cross is recorded in both Matthew and Mark. Let me read to you from Mark's account. At noon, darkness came over the whole land until 3 in the afternoon. And at 3 in the afternoon, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, Eloi, Eloi, lema sabachthani, which means, my God, why have you forsaken me? This is the only prayer recorded in the Bible uttered by Jesus, where he does not address God as Abba, as Father. His body is limp. His life has nearly ebbed away. He's been on the cross for 6 hours, and fittingly, darkness has come over the whole land. Jesus musters enough strength to cry out, my God, why have you forsaken me? Quoting word for word from the first verse of Psalm 22. Have a read of it today, if you can. It's a psalm of a righteous person who suffers unjustly. We recognize this is a cry of dereliction. Jesus feels utterly alone, abandoned. God is not coming to rescue him, and he knows it. Nick Fawcett has written a reflection from the perspective of someone seeing Jesus on the cross. I prayed that God would finish it, put him out of his misery, but still the torment continued. Still they mocked him, delighting in his pain. I knew he was suffering, but even then didn't realize how much. Not until he lifted his head and I saw the despair in his eyes. Not until he spoke and I heard the wretchedness in his voice. My God, why have you forsaken me? And then I realized, and my blood ran cold. He felt alone, totally alone, abandoned by everyone he loved and trusted, even by God himself. Jesus' cry of dereliction reminds us we must come to God as we truly feel. It encourages us to be honest. We don't need to pretend everything is all right when it's not. So often we feel we have to say the right words, repeat certain religious platitudes, but we can say it as it really feels. It's better to come to God with our hurts, even our anger, than fail to come to him at all. Jesus will not let go of God, even when deluged by the greatest weight of suffering. But has God abandoned Jesus? Does God ever abandon us? Does the Father ever leave us in our struggles? Some say God did abandon Jesus on the cross, and this was necessary to secure our salvation. Henry Nouwen disagrees. He says where God's absence was most loudly expressed, God's presence was most profoundly revealed. Commentator David Garland goes even further. God may seem to be absent, he says, but never was God more fully and forcibly present than when Jesus dies on a cross. Just because God doesn't rescue doesn't mean he has deserted us. He is with us in all our sufferings. He's with us when our bodies are racked with cancer. He's with us when we are being bombed by an invading army. He's with us when we are being crucified. He is never absent. He hasn't abandoned Jesus. The Father is with Jesus, but for our sake, he doesn't intervene. So Jesus feels abandoned, but he isn't. However, was Jesus in this moment doubting his Father's goodness? Many see it that way. But I wonder if Jesus is actually restating his trust in his Father. In Jewish practice, quoting the first line of a psalm was a way of evoking the whole psalm. Maybe that is what Jesus is doing here. He identifies himself with the righteous person suffering unjustly. Yet as the psalm continues, this righteous person reaffirms his trust in the Lord. In verse 24, for example, he writes, For he has not despised or scorned the suffering of the afflicted one. He has not hidden his face from him, but has listened to his cry for help. Jesus feels abandoned. He feels utterly alone. Darkness has descended. However, rather than expressing doubts in God's goodness, Jesus, even at this point of absolute agony, is quoting the psalm to reaffirm his trust. Despite the horrors he is experiencing, he believes his heavenly Father will not forsake him. Jesus cries out in a loud voice, my God, why have you forsaken me?" The Father has not left him. The Father is there. The Father never leaves us. He is always with us, even when we feel abandoned in our sufferings. The Father is with Jesus in his agony, using all his power to resist saving his precious Son. For our sake, for our salvation, the Father does not intervene, but he has another plan, and for that we have to wait until Sunday. My God, why have you forsaken me? The answer is simply that Jesus experiences this agony for our sake.
What should I gain from his reward? I cannot give an answer, but this I know with all my heart: his wounds have paid my ransom.